She was just a little girl, her stomach growling louder than her voice. The kitchen was full of food, but none of it was meant for her. A cold glance from the woman who should have cared for her was all it took to remind her of her place. That night, hunger wasn't her only pain. It was the sting of being unwanted, unloved, unseen because of who she was. But just when it seemed like the world had abandoned her, a knock at the door changed everything. Who was standing there, and why did their arrival turn her life upside down?
If stories like this matter to you, take a moment to like and share, because voices like hers deserve to be heard. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories that reveal the truth.
It was supposed to be a quiet evening in a small neighborhood where life moved slowly. The little girl, no more than 8 years old, lived in a modest house that always felt too big and too empty without her father. Since he was gone, every corner carried a silence she couldn't escape. Her stepmother filled that silence with sharp looks and heavy rules, but never with kindness.
Most days, the girl sat by the window, watching other children run home to warm meals and laughter. She clutched her stomach when it rumbled, too afraid to ask for food she knew wouldn't be given. To the neighbors, it looked like an ordinary family, but behind the closed doors of that house, an invisible weight pressed down on her, a weight made heavier by whispers of her skin, her roots, and the fact that she didn't belong. And as the sun dipped below the horizon on that fateful night, the stage was set for a moment that would tear open the fragile mask of normalcy. What came next would reveal just how deep cruelty could cut and how unexpected mercy could arrive at the very same door. The girl's hunger became a constant shadow, following her through every corner of that house. Each evening, the table was set with steaming plates of rice, vegetables, and meat, but she was given nothing more than scraps, if anything at all. Her stepmother made sure of it. The message was always the same. She didn't deserve more. Not in this house. Not with her kind.
She tried to hide her weakness, but her small body betrayed her. At school, she sat quietly in the back, her eyes heavy, her hands trembling when she wrote. Teachers asked if she was sick. Other children whispered about how thin she looked. Some even laughed, cruelly mimicking the way her stomach growled in the middle of class. She wanted to vanish. But hunger was only half of her torment. The words cut deeper. When her stepmother thought no one was listening, she muttered slurs under her breath, hateful names that stained the air like poison. Sometimes she said them directly to the girl's face, her tone dripping with disgust, as if the very sight of her was a reminder of something she wanted erased. The girl's father had been her shield once, the only one who loved her unconditionally. But he was gone now, and without him, she was defenseless against the storm of cruelty that raged inside those walls. She prayed silently each night for things to change, for someone, anyone, to notice her pain.
One evening, her stepmother prepared a feast. Guests were expected, and the house filled with the aroma of roasted chicken and warm bread. The girl stood in the doorway, her mouth watering, her stomach twisting. She dared to step forward, hoping she might be allowed just a small plate, but her stepmother turned, eyes sharp as knives, and ordered her back to her room. "Not for you," her tone seemed to say without words. Alone upstairs, the girl pressed her ear to the floorboards, listening as laughter and clinking silverware echoed below. She tried to imagine what it would feel like to sit at that table, to be treated like she mattered. Her eyes filled with tears she fought to hold back. And then, a sound she didn't expect, a knock at the front door. It was firm, deliberate, echoing through the hall. The laughter downstairs paused for a moment, then resumed muffled. The girl's heart pounded. Who could it be at this hour?
The stepmother's voice carried sharply as she moved toward the door, her tone cold, impatient. But the girl's instincts told her this was no ordinary visitor. Something about that knock felt different, like it carried weight, purpose, maybe even salvation. She crept down the stairs just enough to see the outline of the stranger framed in the doorway, their figure bathed in the dim glow of the porch light. The stepmother's expression faltered just slightly, as if she hadn't expected to see this person standing there. The stranger's eyes swept the room, pausing just long enough to notice the empty chair in the corner, the chair that should have been hers. The feast was spread across the table, steaming bowls untouched, laughter still lingering in the air. But the girl stood small and silent in the hallway, her ribs showing through her thin dress, her eyes carrying more hunger than any words could ever express.
The stepmother stiffened, her smile faltering under the weight of being seen. She muttered excuses, insisting the girl had already eaten, that she was fine, that this was family business. But the stranger's gaze didn't waver. He saw through the lies. He saw the truth written across the child's fragile frame, written in the way she clutched the banister like it was the only thing holding her up. The girl's heart pounded as if the entire world had narrowed to this single moment. Would he turn away like everyone else? Would he pretend not to notice the cruelty that had been her everyday reality? Or would he be the one person brave enough to step inside the storm? The air grew heavy, the silence sharp. Every second stretched longer than the last. The stepmother's eyes darted nervously, desperate to shut the door and shut out the truth. But the stranger didn't move. Instead, he leaned down, lowering himself to the girl's height, his voice steady, his presence unshakable. And for the first time in her life since her father's death, she felt something she thought she'd lost forever: hope.
For the stepmother, the confrontation left a silence heavier than any scolding or punishment could. She realized that the truth she had tried to bury in shame and prejudice had been exposed, witnessed by someone who refused to look away. And for the girl, it was the first spark of hope in a life that had known too much darkness. Yet the story didn't end at the doorstep. It echoed far beyond that small house, a reminder that injustice often hides behind ordinary walls and polite smiles. Racism, neglect, and indifference can thrive in places where people pretend not to see, where society allows cruelty to go unchecked. And still, one act of courage, a single knock, a single person choosing to act, can alter a life forever.
The girl would grow stronger, carrying the memory of that night as both a warning and a beacon. It was a moment that taught her resilience, but also a lesson for all who witnessed it, that ignoring suffering allows it to continue, and that standing up, even when it's uncomfortable, can change the course of someone's life. So, the question lingers long after the story ends. In a world filled with injustice, how often do we choose to turn away? And how much could change if instead we decided to knock on the doors that need us most?